It's time for the Kurtiss Rich Show. The head coach of the 9-time champion Sioux Falls Storm. The Kurtiss Rich Show presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute. Together, they are the official health care and complete training team of the Sioux Falls Storm. The Kurtiss Rich Show on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Here's your host of the Kurtiss Rich Show, the voice of the Storm, the Silver Fox, Rich Roste.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Kurtiss Rich Show. Thank you for making us a part of your afternoon on a beautiful April day here in the Sioux Empire. Coming up on the show today, we'll be talking to the head coach, Kurtiss Riggs, about the games around the IFL. There was a full slate of games that went on in the Indoor Football League. We'll also be talking about the Storm's win over the Wichita Falls Nighthawks, 71-44. That was last Saturday night. A great crowd again out to the Denny Sanford Premier Center. Also on the Storm show today, we'll be talking with Storm players, defensive linemen, a couple of them. We're going to talk to Sam Campbell and also to Claude Davis. And these guys are entirely different personalities. They're different types of football players, but both of them great talents with the Sioux Falls Storm and have a tremendous amount of impact on that defensive line for the Sioux Falls Storm. We'll be talking to Sam Campbell and Claude Davis. Then later in the show, we'll be giving away four free tickets. We'll do that 3 different times. A total of 12 tickets will be given away, and that's for the Storm's next home game on April 30th as the Storm hosts the Green Bay Blizzard, and we'll be giving those away courtesy of Wingstop. We'll be taking the third caller after we go to break, after the 2-player interviews, and then also after we go off the air. And then before the show ends, Coach Riggs and I'll be talking and having a scouting report on the game coming up this weekend as the Storm travels down to Grand Island, Nebraska to take on the Nebraska Danger. They're 5-3. They were defeated by 1 point this past weekend, and they're going to be loaded for bear against the Sioux Falls Storm because a win for them would put them, in first place of that intense conference. And we'll talk about that with Coach Riggs in just a little bit. So stay tuned, folks. We have a great show for you. We're going to be talking about the game this past Saturday, but we're going to be talking with Coach Riggs a little bit differently. Last week we talked about making and creating opportunities and taking advantage of opportunities. We're going to be talking about game-changing plays that occur, and then also about transition and adjustment in the second half. And those are the things we're going to be talking about Coach Riggs about in this Coach's Show this afternoon. This is the Kurtiss Riggs Show, and you're listening to it courtesy of Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, the Storm official healthcare team, and by Orthopedic Institute, the official Storm sports medicine providers. And you're listening to it right here on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN.
Success doesn't fit in a 9-to-5 day.
When you think big, think of the best transportation solutions mile after mile. When you think big, think Boyer trucks. Redefining the road.
What's the smart way to refresh your home? Get inspired by Granite Transformations. See how easy it is to transform your kitchen with gorgeous quartz and granite, plus custom cabinet refacing. Schedule your free in-home design consultation today.
Breathe easier when you have your ducts cleaned by Waterbury. Call us today. Save on your energy bill with a new furnace from Waterbury. Call for your free estimates.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Back to your host, Rich Roste.
And welcome back to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. And this segment brought to you by our great friends over at Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs, longtime Storm sponsors and also the best bread in town. That is Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. Coach, kind of a full weekend as far as IFL games. Every team was in playing somewhere during the course of the week, wasn't it?
I think so. It seems a rarity up to this point in the season. It seems like we've had a lot of byes or a couple games here and there, but a lot of action.
Let's talk about some of those games. First of all, on Friday night, it was the Billings Wolves got a win over the Green Bay Blizzard, 55-34. And right now, Billings has improved now to 3-4, and Green Bay is 1-6 on the year. Those two teams are kind of battling out. What do you see with those two ball clubs? How are they progressing? Are they going the right direction?
Well, it's really hard to say. Both have had so much transformation in their rosters. Green Bay especially has traded away players like Jamie Bender and Brian Prey. And I think Coach Williams is trying to find guys that want to be there. And so I think he's going to keep doing that till he finds the formula. You hope it's not to a point to where it costs them their fans, and then ownership decides, well, it's time to move on. Where Billings, it's a good win, even though it's against Green Bay. You got to travel a long ways. You got to go out to their place. A hungry team looking for a win, and a team that did beat Nebraska. They were pretty beat up at the time. They still got the win against Nebraska, and so I think that's still a good win. And Billings is right in the hunt of things in their division.
Yeah, you look at that intense conference. They're very tight. Spokane is 5-1. Nebraska, who lost by a point, and they lost 51-50 to Cedar Rapids, and so Nebraska is going to be hungry this weekend. But they are 5-3. Tri-City's 3-4, and Billings is 3-4, and the top three teams get into the playoffs. So you're absolutely right that Billings is in the mix right now, and playoffs are a possibility for them.
Yeah, and I think it's something that Coach Dixon is really preaching to their guys about. Hey, we've got a great chance here.
Tri-Cities went down to Fort Collins, Colorado to take on the Colorado Crush, and Tri-Cities came up with a win 39-31. Colorado still without a win this year. They are 0-7, but Tri-Cities improves to 3-4, and that was a good win for them.
It was. They faced a Colorado team that didn't have their quarterback. Colorado actually suited a defensive back at quarterback. And really tried to run the ball the majority of the game with some play action. And their defense kept them in it for right up till the end of the game, and then Tri-Cities was able to pull it out. It was really a tight game, and it came down to the very end.
Well, it just seems like Colorado has had so many different problems that have happened to them this year, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, they have, and you don't wish that upon anyone, especially some of the things that they're going through with their ownership. But their guys are still playing hard. They're fighting, and eventually they'll get things going on the right track, and hopefully that's not when they come to the playoffs.
Yeah, there is that trip up from Fort Collins to Sioux Falls, and they always seem to play their best when they come up here. But there's still a lot of season left. I think a lot of people don't realize that just how much season we have left, and things can change. And with getting players and the tryouts at the CFL, are they completed right now? Or are they still going on?
Well, they're still going on, but what you see is guys getting signed that go into mini camp, and then getting cut in mini camp, and then they naturally gravitate right back to the IFL. And so you see at times, teams going without their players because you don't want to bring someone in for a week when you're going to get these guys back. A lot like what Nebraska did when they went down to Iowa and got a win. They went without Sewell and Savage and Eno. And so you see this. Colorado did the same this week. They went without their quarterback. I'm sure they're expecting that he'll be back now when they play Billings this week. And you'll see more players joining teams, more players that were trying to hold out for whatever outdoor league that was supposed to be starting up that never came to fruition. And so you'll see these teams boasting their roster and making changes as the season progresses. And you're right, there's a lot of season left. It's funny to hear everyone say, well, these are the teams that are going to make the playoffs. I mean, there's still a whole half of the season left here.
Talking to Storm head coach Kurtiss Riggs on the Kurtiss Riggs Show. The other game we wanted to visit a little bit about and talk about was the Cedar Rapids game, as they had hosted Nebraska. I think that Cedar Rapids was trailing in a lot of that game, but they came back and won 51-50, and had Nebraska been able to get that victory, they would have moved into first place in the Intense Conference with 6 wins. But tell us about that ball game down at Cedar Rapids.
Well, it was a great game. I watched that, and Nebraska very easily should have won that game, which, I mean, we know firsthand that's a very difficult place to play. Their kicker missed 4 field goals, and some very makeable ones. In fact, one at the end of the game that, it was just about an extra point, and he missed it, and Cedar Rapids was able to run the clock out at the end of the game. So I know Coach Davis, I would not be surprised at all if we saw a change in kicker for Nebraska. I mean, that's kind of their MO is, we're just going to make a change here. And it was a very competitive game. It was very low scoring in the first half. And then the second half, teams kind of got in a rhythm, and Dylan Farr made some plays, and Wayman James really played well for Cedar Rapids.
And the other game that went on during the course of the last weekend was Spokane and Iowa Barnstormers, both former members of the Arena Football League. And Spokane is making a statement this year, their first year in the league, as they defeated Iowa 54-34, and Spokane Empire is currently in the first place of the Intense Conference. And tell us about that game, what you know.
I didn't watch any of it. I just saw the score, and I believe Iowa's tailback Rouse is injured right now, so he didn't play. He's really an instrumental part of their offense. But the Spokane is in rhythm. I mean, they're putting up a lot of points, and they seem to be clicking on all cylinders right now. It's one of those weird deals on schedule-wise. We play them home and away. I think Nebraska, though, only plays Spokane one time.
Oh, my.
Even though they're in the same division. I think they only play one time. And so, you'll have Spokane against Tri-Cities 4 times and probably against Billings 3 or 4 times, but then only played Nebraska 1 time. It doesn't quite seem right, but it's just one of those scheduling quirks that we have in the IFL, and you just got to make do and fight through it.
And the Sioux Falls Storm will be heading out there the very last regular season for the Storm. It's not the last regular season weekend because the Storm has a bye that weekend. Well, Coach, when we come back, we're going to be talking about the win over the Wichita Falls Nighthawks last Saturday, 71-44. And you're listening to this segment brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. See Tim, not Tom, and he'll take good care of you. The best bread in town. You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show right here on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1. We'll be back right after that.
If you haven't been
Your
to
body,
Eastway Sports Lounge
a
or
remarkable
Grill
network
lately,
of bone, tissue, and joints working in perfect harmony. But when injuries occur, that process can be interrupted. At Orthopedic Institute, orthopedic medicine is all we do. We work to get you up and moving again, recreating that perfect harmony, whatever that may be for you. Orthopedic Institute, we're the one to trust to keep your body in motion.
You're not just disseminating facts. You're not just telling people what happened, but you're having to deal with the people it happened to.
We want to capture the effect. Why is it so important? Why is this happening?
Everything has an effect and everything has an impact. It's more than just providing headlines. It's the idea of this has happened and this is why you should care.
It's the driver of how we do news, because we want people to know that we care.
people that I work with are family. We get more time with the patients to deliver that personalized care.
I know that our patients are satisfied and happy with their outcomes.
And I've had more than one patient say to me, you know, I can really feel that you guys like being here and taking care of patients. And that's wonderful to hear, because that's the truth.
We give the best care in the world.
And just a better overall experience for the patient.
And that's why I chose to come work here at Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital.
You're listening to The Kurtiss Riggs Show, presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Back to your host, Rich Roste.
And welcome back to The Kurtiss Riggs Show. This segment brought to you by Eastway Bowl and Eastway Lounge, and they are the official Storm away game viewing party hosts, and they're going to be hosting a viewing party this coming Saturday as the Sioux Falls Storm head out to Grand Island, Nebraska to take on the Nebraska Danger. So head on out to Eastway Bowl and Eastway Lounge and enjoy watching the game with other Sioux Falls Storm fans. Around the league coming up this weekend, a full slate of games again at Cedar Rapids, at Wichita Falls on Friday. Saturday, the Storm's going to be at Nebraska Danger. Spokane also on Saturday will be at Tri-Cities. And then on Sunday, the Iowa Barnstormers will be traveling up to Green Bay to take on the Blizzard, and Colorado Crush will be traveling to Billings to take on the Wolves. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. And, Coach, congratulations for a big win over Wichita Falls in the first meeting of these two ball clubs.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think there was a lot of hype and build-up for this game.
Well, there was a lot of hype. There was a lot of talk. There was a lot of sometimes some screaming. Things got a little bit interesting prior to the game, but the players, they all settled down and played a good game. One thing I want to talk about this week. Last week we talked about creating and taking advantage of opportunities. And this game, I thought this past weekend, was a game of game-changing plays. And we're going to have some of those highlights. And we'll be talking about what is your... Coach, when you think back on this victory over Wichita Falls, how do you rate that type of a ball game, or how did you think it played out?
I didn't think it could start much better. I mean, I thought the first half we played some pretty good football, and then second half we came out as a team that's up big, and that's kind of how we played. It wasn't ideal, and probably not the way we wanted to finish. But I think overall it was still a good win, and it's one that when people come in our place, they realize it's not as easy as they think to come in and beat us in the Storm place.
Sioux Falls Storm, we talk about, as far as this game is concerned, about plays that change the course of the game, and at this particular time when this happened, it was a very tight ball game. But then this happened. Here's our first highlight. We'll work on that just a second here. But, Coach, actually what the highlight was Justin Saravatka's kickoff. And the score was the 14-13. The Sioux Falls Storm was up on top by a point after Lorenzo Brown had hit Caleb Holly for a touchdown. And then the kickoff happened, and the ball bounced off one of the up blockers, and the Storm recover it. And that was in the league this year. What was your longest kick, Adam?
In indoor, it was 54.
54. Here's the kick. A 45-yard kick for a field goal. Justin Saravatka. Now Lorenzo Brown has Peace to his right side, two in motion left. He's back to pass. Here's the blitz. Pass goes end zone high. Leaping catch, Holly. Again, a two-hander. Touchdown. Holy help me, Hannah. What a catch by Caleb Holly. 77% touchdown. Pass, end zone caught. And getting there is Caleb Holly. Another two-handed grab in the back of the end zone. Touchdown Storm. So the left-footed kicker. And Hermanson is back in case it's returnable. It's going to be blocked there by Tyler Knight. It goes into the end zone. Scramble for the ball. Tyler Knight's got it. That's a touchdown. That's a touchdown. That's a touchdown. Holy help me, Hannah. Sioux Falls Storm get a score with 9 seconds left to go, and they didn't even have the football. And now Lorenzo Brown, second down and 19 yards to go. They need to get down to the 3-yard line to pick up the first down. Fakes through the box. There is Tatum. Fires it upfield all by himself into the end zone. Goes Corey Williams. He'll stop at the goal line, fall in backwards. Touchdown, Sioux Falls Storm.
Constantly try to keep up with us. And so when they lose out on possessions, I mean, it's just catastrophic for them.
When they started out the ball game, Charles McCullum was not a part of their starting lineup because of an injured shoulder, but they brought in Wigson, and it didn't seem like they missed a beat in their first 2 series.
You know, I didn't think he played that bad, but talking after the game, it sounded like Coach Back was not happy at all with him, and he was already looking at bringing in another quarterback. It sounds like McCullum might be out for a little while, and so they're going to keep trying to find the person that they feel best about.
Okay. Hang on, Coach. We're going to check on the highlights to see if we'll try to play the second highlight. They're not in? Okay. Having some issues as far as the highlights are concerned. We're going to do it the old-fashioned way. We're going to just talk about the football game. Coach, the next game-changing play was Tyler Knight getting a big hit on a wide receiver, causing a fumble, and getting the ball turned over again. Again, that was another momentum swing, another change in the momentum, taking away one of their opportunities to have the football, and then the Sioux Falls Storm get a touchdown. And that's exactly what you want out of your defense, to make a stop, get a turnover, and then capitalize on it, and that changes the course of the game.
Yeah, we didn't get any interceptions, which we kind of thought we might be able to get some of those, but we got a couple fumbles, and then we were able to turn those into immediate points right away. I thought Tyler played very well. He did it. I mean, he had some big plays between, you know, the strip and fumble recovery, and then I'm sure a play that you have maybe coming up here. But he had a great night for us. You know, he was flying all over the field, and they have a ton of speed. I mean, they spread you out. They put you in space against their very quick guys, and they put a lot of pressure on you.
Sioux Falls Storm acquired a wide receiver a couple of weeks ago by the name of Caleb Holly. And in his first game last week with the Sioux Falls Storm, he had 3 touchdowns. This past weekend, he had 5 receiving touchdowns, which ties or sets an IFL record. Also ties the Storm record for the most touchdown receptions. Carl Sims currently holds that title with the Sioux Falls Storm, 5 touchdown receptions. Tell us about this new wide receiver, Caleb Holly.
Well, we very easily could have broke that record. I mean, we missed him a couple of times, you know, once in the first half and then 2 times in the second half, where we had him just wide open for touchdowns. And, you know, Lorenzo would be the first to say those would have probably been easier throws than some of the ones he made in the first half. But, you know, he's doing a good job of putting Caleb in a position to make plays, and that's what Caleb is very good at, is going and getting the ball. And he's very talented. You know, playing inside the walls doesn't really affect him. He's just very good at when the ball's in the air, he's going to go get it.
Talking to Storm head coach Kurtiss Riggs on the Kurtiss Riggs Show. This segment brought to you by Eastway Bowl and Eastway Lounge, the official Storm away game viewing party hosts. And coming up on Saturday, the Storm's going to be heading out to Grand Island, Nebraska to take on the Danger. And you can watch the show free. Just go on out to Eastway Bowl and Eastway Lounge and join other Storm fans out there. Tyler Knight, we were talking about him just a bit ago, and it was kind of an interesting scenario. Right before the end of the first half, there was like 9 seconds left to go. There was a kickoff, and the play was run out. And then they put another second on the clock, which allowed the Nighthawks to have an opportunity to kick a field goal, but Tyler Knight pretty much changed that whole thing when he blocked it and recovered the ball in the end zone. And talk about a turnaround, because if they would have been able to get, if Wichita Falls would have been able to get the field goal, they would have cut the lead to 17, but instead the Sioux Falls Storm get the touchdown, and they go up top big time. So tell us about how that was for the team going into halftime.
Well, it was huge. We get a score, and then we kick off, and they're asking to have the 1 second put on the clock because they have a very good kicker. I mean, Belmonte has one of the most powerful legs in the league. And so, you know, that's probably a very legitimate argument for them. I would do the same. But then for us to get the block and score another touchdown before half was just demoralizing for their coaches and their players. You could just see how bad that was for them as they walked off the field.
Yeah, instead of being up by only being down by 17, they wound up being down by 27, and that, like you said, was a demoralizing a momentum swing. Everything just kind of went the wrong direction from that point on. Now, as far as that is a game-changing play, very definitely that's a game-changing play. The other way that games can be changed is through adjustment. Tell us what you do and your coaches do at halftime, making adjustments which can become game changers in the second half. Tell us about how you go through that process.
Well, you know, the two staffs, the offense, defensive staffs, we meet, talk about the things we're doing well, things we're doing bad. The things that we're not doing so well, is it worth trying to adjust and save, or just scrap it and really focus on the things we're doing well? And then, you know, we bring the players in and go through those changes or adjustments, or, you know, what things we're just totally getting rid of, and how we want to go about implementing that plan. But it can also work against you too, Rich. You know, as you saw, we came out, we got the ball first, and, you know, we went 3 and out right away, and just we did not execute at all. And then, you know, they come down and score, and so it was very much, as we sat there and said, you know, hey, the score is 0-0. We didn't do a good enough job of still getting it out of the player's head that, hey, you're up big. And we've got to make sure that, you know, the guys come out second half really ready to go, hungry to finish that game out, and we didn't do that.
How do you readjust a second time when things don't go as planned?
Well, that's really, ultimately in the indoor game, what usually happens is someone has to make a play. I mean, it's just like, you know, someone makes a play and just brings that spark to your team. Because as things start to go bad, you know, you can get things back on track up to a point, but it's like you just need something to energize the guys. And you know, you have guys like Mike Tatum and Corey Williams and Lorenzo and Caleb Hawley. Guys like that offensively, they're able to, usually one of them, step up and give you that spark.
Well, one thing about it, Corey Williams had a wide open reception for a touchdown, and he got the crowd going into it when he stopped at the goal line and fell backwards into the end zone. A bit of a showman, but it was something that maybe was the spark that helped in that second half.
Yeah, I mean, he had no one around him, and so he wanted to make sure that he always brings a little bit of flavor and pizzazz to his finishes. And, you know, it's a little bit of showmanship that he does. It's nothing to taunt the other team. It's just something to have a little bit of fun that people find a little entertainment by.
Well, Coach, you get the victory. Final score, 71-44. Where did you see improvement in your ball club this weekend?
Well, you know, where I saw improvement was I thought defensively we did some nice things. You know, I thought defensively our DBs played more aggressive. I thought we did a good job up front. I thought Brandon Paguse had his best game of the year. You know, and it's one where you don't really notice in the stat book, but he did some very good things, and we need that from him. We need him. You know, Claude had a very good game the week before. Brandon had a good game this week. And I think our two nose guards are consistently getting better. So, you know, and I thought Justin did a very good job with his kickoffs. I didn't think our kick coverage was very good, but I thought his kickoffs were very good.
I asked him about the kick that went into the chest of one of the blockers, and I asked if he had planned that, and he said no, he had planned to kick about 2 feet to the man's left, and he stepped right into the football and basically had no chance to recover it at all, and he says it was kind of an accident. Do you ever at a time think about aiming and trying to make that play intentionally?
Oh, yeah. Coach Fields will tell him, hey, pick one and try to go at him. You know, and even if you miss, it's still it's a knuckleball line drive kick. That's a very good squib kick. And we tell our guys, think of you're playing it's like the movie Dodgeball. You know, instead of actual balls, though, they're throwing wrenches at you. So you better make sure you're out of the way, because if you get hit, it's either the force of the ball or the force of Coach Riggs coming at you is going to be like a wrench. So, you know, we tell them you got to get out of the way of those things. It's easier said than done. I mean, if people could only see how much those balls are moving when they get kicked straight at them, it's very difficult. And so Justin has done a nice job adapting to the indoor game, because outdoor you never kick split kicks.
No.
And so now he's adjusted to that, and he's become very good at it.
Adam Hicks was on the broadcast with me this past weekend, and he did a fantastic job. He brings so much to the broadcast, so much knowledge and things that you don't expect maybe from all kickers, because he is a student of the game. And we were talking about how things had changed, and he said, too, that there is such a small window as far as where your foot connects with that football. He said an eighth of an inch, a quarter of an inch. He said he could actually feel the difference on the football when he would kick it off versus when he could kick it on. And it was just interesting how he brought that out into the broadcast.
Yeah, I mean, I would have no idea. I can offer zero guidance for Justin when he does it. I usually just tell him, hey, that was really good, or hey, that was terrible. Well, you know, one of the two. And he's very good, just like all the kickers we've had, about being students of the game and understanding and critiquing themselves on those things. We've been very lucky in that capacity.
Talked to Adam about in the broadcast. His longest kick was 54 yards indoor football. That was his largest kick. But he has the record for the Sioux Falls Storm most points scored. I didn't realize it was that big a number. 816 points Adam Hicks scored in his Storm uniform.
Wow, yeah, that's impressive. I mean, the thing you remember most about Adam, though, was if there was pressure, he was money. I mean, just, you know, he was so good in the clutch. And there were so many times where we knew, hey, we don't need to score a touchdown here. We can just, let's put this in Adam's range, and he'll finish it. And Terrence and I often talk about that, how there was zero hesitation or doubt. You know, whereas now a lot of teams, they're definitely second-guessing and wondering if they should even attempt a kick.
Well, Coach, congratulations on the win. How did the Storm come out of there health-wise?
You know, I think we came out okay. I mean, I think we're already starting to feel the effect of playing some very physical games, you know, against some very tough teams. But you know, I think, and also part of this very long stretch that we'll have. But for this point in the season, you know, we're doing okay.
Coach, we'll talk to you after a little bit, and we'll have kind of a scouting report on the Nebraska Danger.
All right, I look forward to it, Rich.
He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs, and when we come back, we'll be talking with a couple of the Storm players. But this segment has been brought to you by Eastway Bowl and Eastway Lounge. The next viewing party, Saturday, 7 o'clock. Be out there at Eastway. You can watch the game for free. You're listening to the Sioux Falls Storm Coaches Show, the Kurtiss Riggs Show, right here on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN.
We all know that emergencies happen at the most inconvenient times. It's
You think tough. When you think big, think of the when you think rugged, When you think big, think of the best transportation solutions mile after mile. When you think big, think Boyer trucks. Redefining the road.
Eastway Bowl is more than just bowling. It's a full experience entertainment center. Like us on Facebook and visit our website to learn more about the full experience at Eastway Bowl.
What's the smart way to refresh your home? Get inspired by Granite Transformations. See how easy it is to transform your kitchen with gorgeous quartz and granite, plus custom cabinet refacing. Schedule your free in-home design consultation today.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Back to your host, Rich Roste.
And welcome back to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. And this segment brought to you by Wingstop of Sioux Falls. More than a meal, it's a flavor experience. And they are located at just south of Minnesota and 26th Street, just south of Walgreens. Check it out, Wingstop of Sioux Falls. Great wings over there. And after our interview with Claude Davis, we'll take your third caller when we go to break. Third caller at 336-1230 for 4 free tickets to the game coming up on April 20, let's see, what is that? The 30th is when we're going to have the next home game. So stay tuned and we'll get a chance to give away some free tickets. But joining us via the fan line, he is a defensive end, number 15 with the Sioux Falls Storm in his second year, Claude Davis. Claude, thanks for being on the Kurtiss Riggs Show.
How you doing, my man?
Well, tell us, Claude, now this is your second year with the Sioux Falls Storm, and I asked this of many different players. What do you know now today about playing indoor football that you did not know when you got here 2 years ago?
Well, how well the defense and the offense play together. Everything works together. It's a unit.
When you talk about the defense and offense working together, a lot of folks will say, well, they're on the field at different times, but they need to be able to be on the same page and communicate and be able to do their jobs in order to interact, don't they?
Yeah, yes, sir.
So you as a defensive lineman, what have you learned about playing your position versus when you played it in college before? How is it different playing defensive end in the indoor football league?
Everything is a lot faster, you know. A batted ball is a big play in indoor versus a batted ball on the outside. It's an all right play, you know. Hey, it's okay, he batted the ball down. Versus it's 3rd and 5 and the quarterback's throwing in 2 steps and he bats the ball down, makes it 4th down for us.
So when you talk about your play at the line of scrimmage, what is your best move at this particular time in indoor football? Is it straight through that guy, making a move, setting him up? How is it working out best for you against that offensive lineman across from you?
Well, my long arms and speed, I got this stab move that I use. Basically, I put my inside hand on his outside breastplate and push his shoulder towards the quarterback. So, yeah, stab move.
Now, what do you do when they hold you?
That's funny. Well, can't do nothing but try to knock their hands down. 9 times out of 10 is not going to get called, so just got to play through it.
I've always asked the offensive lineman, and we're visiting with Claude Davis, a defensive end with the Sioux Falls Storm, and I've always asked the offensive lineman if they ever held a defensive lineman, and half will say that they never have, and the other half will laugh and they say they do it all the time. How often are you held?
A lot.
And as far as fighting that off, basically all you can do is to break the hands off of you away from the jersey and then get them at a distance so that you can make a move on them or beat them on the rush.
Yeah, most likely 9 times out of 10 with me, I'll beat you off the rush. If not, then I'll use my hands against your hands. Hand swipe. You know, hand balance is the key. Plus you get off.
Now, you're a pretty good-sized defensive end, 6'4", 270 pounds. You're facing guys that are like 350. How much, when somebody's that big, to go around them is like going around the block. So it's easier to go through them sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, sir. Especially with guys like that, they'll try to jump out on you, get in front of you. So with that being said, once they jump out, I'll go speed the bull. So put my helmet under your chin.
We're visiting with Claude Davis, defensive end with the Sioux Falls Storm. Now, tell us about your hobby. You have an interesting hobby of what you like to do. Tell us about your drawing.
Oh, yeah, I've been doing that since I was a little kid, man. It's just, I don't know, it's peaceful to me, and I took interest in it. And once I seen I was good, I continued to do it.
Have you had any formal training in art?
In junior college, I took art class. We painted and we draw. We used pastels and stuff like that.
So what's your favorite medium to work with?
I like pencils. I like to draw like black and white with a pencil, shaded with the pencil and stuff.
I have a son-in-law who does drawing also. He's a graphic artist, but he does drawing as far as a hobby is concerned. And he did a picture of me from a photograph. And what he does is he uses pencil, but anything that is white on the paper is the paper itself. And he uses the pencil to make it look like the white has been painted. Have you ever seen that done or been able to do that yourself?
Oh, no, I'm not that advanced yet, my man. No, sir. But that sounds pretty interesting. I would like to check that out sometime.
And is it really kind of interesting because he paints draws basically in the negative,
right?
And it turns out in positive, and it's just amazing. Of course, when he did the picture of me with my white hair, he left a lot of the paper showing.
Nah, man, that just means you're wise. You got a lot of sense.
Now, you've always promised me that you're going to draw a caricature of me or a cartoon of me. I still hopefully that'll happen someday.
Yeah, definitely, my man. We can work that out.
Well, I tell you what, Claude, it's great having you a part of the Sioux Falls Storm. You've been playing well, and looking forward to watching you play down in Nebraska on Saturday night.
Yeah, yes, sir, and I'm glad to be a part of it, too. So let's just continue winning and chasing another championship, my man.
Very good. Claude, thanks for being on the Kurtiss Riggs Show. We'll see you on Saturday.
All right, my man. Take care.
He is Claude Davis, defensive end with the Sioux Falls Storm. And when we go to break, we'll take your third caller at 336-1230 for 4 free tickets, courtesy of Wingstop. It's more than a meal. It's a flavor experience. Wingstop on 23rd or 26th and Minnesota, just south of Walgreens. You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show right here on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Back to your host, Rich Roste.
And welcome back to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. Again, we're brought to you by Wingstop of Sioux Falls. It's more than a meal, it's a flavor experience. And they're located in South Minnesota. It's just south of 26th Street. And just south of Walgreens, and great wings. I've been there many times. It's a great place to eat. And via the fan line, going to be visiting with defensive lineman for the Sioux Falls Storm, Sam Campbell. Sam, how are you doing, friend?
I'm doing good, Rich. It's funny because I actually love Wingstop as well.
Well, good. They're good stuff, aren't they?
Oh, they're great stuff, especially with their lemon pepper and their Louisiana rub. I can't go wrong with that.
Well, I tell you what, you didn't grow up in Louisiana, but you must have acquired a taste for some of that good food down there.
I have it in a lot of ways. My family is from back east and from the south, so we got some good home cooking. So.
Well, you grew up in Los Angeles. You wound up playing at Illinois State. How did you get all the way from the West Coast to the Mid-America?
Sometimes I kind of ask myself that question, but to be honest, I was just playing at a junior college, and I was actually getting recruited to USC, and they had dropped out at the last second because they wanted someone to come in spring, and I had to finish up my degree, and ISU was willing to wait for me to finish a couple of math classes, and I ended up there, so it was a very good experience.
Now, were you ever recruited to come to Augustana College here in Sioux Falls?
I actually was recruited. I actually had a couple conversations with the coaches, but then once I started getting some Division I interest, then I was like, well, I want to try to play it at the highest level. But I had no idea that it was actually located here in Sioux Falls, so it was kind of crazy to be here.
Actually, it's kind of interesting. Last week, Joe Evenson was a former Storm player, was on the broadcast with me, and he was looking at the roster, and he did some checking, and he said, you know what? I tried to recruit Sam Campbell when I was at Augustana. And he said, what a small world it is.
Man, what a really small world. Well, I'm here now.
Well, tell us a little bit about your life. You have some interesting abilities, and I wanted to talk about those as far as being on the Kurtiss Riggs Show. We're talking to Sam Campbell, defensive lineman with the Sioux Falls Storm. But tell us about your ministry.
Oh, man, well, I'm a very devout Christian, and I love Jesus. And recently what's been going on is I've been in the process of writing a book called Lineman for Life, which is just explaining like my journey as an offensive and defensive lineman, but most importantly, the fundamentals that I've learned so that I can be successful at those positions, and also how those fundamentals transfer spiritually and how they can help us in our spiritual walk, whether if you're a Christian or if you're a new believer or even if you're not a believer. It really helps you have a fundamental stance in faith, you know. And aside from that, I'm also a worship musician. I play drums and piano back in my church in Los Angeles, and it's a really fun experience. I've been doing that ever since I was about 2 and 3 years old, and it's just kind of stuck with me ever since. So,
you know, I've seen your hands, Sam. How do you get those in between the keys so that you're not hitting a couple, three of them at the same time?
Oh, man, it took a lot of practice. Man, it was really difficult because being a powerful, big guy, like, you know, you can press a lot at the same time, but when you learn how to be delicate and you learn how to be gentle, you know, it kind of makes it a little bit easier to kind of maneuver. So, and it kind of runs in my blood, too. So I've had some really good experiences and some really good influences in my life when it came to playing the keys and everything.
So what type of music do you like to play on the piano? Are you like the traditional? Do you like to play some blues or some ragtime, or tell us what you really like to play on the piano?
Oh, man. Well, as a musician and growing up in a family full of singers, you kind of have a wide variety of genres that you can play. Mainly, I play gospel. I'm the godson of gospel legend Andre Crouch, and I grew up playing gospel music, but I've also had the opportunity to play R&B. I've had the chance to play a little bit of blues. You know, I even learned a couple of rock songs, you know, from playing from the Los Angeles Kiss, and you just kind of pick those up. But mostly, I am a gospel player.
So you are a godson of Andre Crouch.
Andre Crouch, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. How did that come about?
Well, my mom, Linda McCrary, sang with Andre for over, I think, between 30 and 35 years. And it's funny because they actually dated back in the day.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, it was pretty interesting, you know. And then, you know, my mom went a different path, and he kept on his path. And she found my dad, but they kept singing together over time, and they were such good friends. And when I was born, he used to say, "Well, that's my little son," you know. So he always used to call me his little son and his godson, I think I was probably one of the closest things to a child that he actually had, on account that he had no children. But I grew up in his church, in his concerts, with his records, and that's really what shaped me today. I was just listening to him right before you called, too. So
That's very interesting. We're talking to Sam Campbell, defensive lineman with the Sioux Falls Storm, on the Kurtiss Riggs Show. When we go off the air after this interview, we'll take your third caller for 4 free tickets to the next Storm home game, and that's courtesy of Wingstop. Sam, when you came into indoor football, this is your first year, and I asked this question of many of the players, and I get many different responses. But what is the one thing that you've learned about playing this game in the weeks that you've been with the Storm that you had no idea about when you came into camp just a couple months ago?
Well, I was here last year for the last 4 games.
Oh, that's right.
Of
yes.
the season, and I was very fortunate to play behind Corey Johnson and learn a lot of things from him. But I think coming in this year, I think that practice habits and I want to say really like the practice habits of playing the indoor game, and also of how to get more vertical and how to do things in this league really have kind of taken a toll on me. You know, I thought that you can use the same fundamentals as you do in the outdoor game. It's a little more horizontal, a little more drawn out, but right here you can attack a lot more. And it took me a couple weeks just to kind of figure that out, and it's been working for me because I've been working on it, developing better practice habits with my teammates. So that was one thing that kind of got me.
Well, Sam, one of the things that you have to do all the time is to play against Charlie Sanders, and there probably isn't a center that can move his hands as quickly and get in position as Charlie Sanders, and that's going to help you become a better nose guard, isn't it?
It definitely does. Charlie is the best in the league, you know, and on top of that, he is such a good big brother to me. You know, he after almost every play and almost every practice, I'll go up and I'll ask things and I'll ask questions, and he'll work with me extra just so that I'm able to be prepared, because to be honest, I don't beat Charlie a lot, but I definitely learned from Hey man, he is a big guy, and he is a fundamentally sound center, and that's why he's been the best in this business for a very long time. You know, so I'm very fortunate.
Well, Sam, I really appreciate you being a part of the Kurtiss Riggs Show today, and also for all that you do, both on and off the field in your life. And thanks so much for being on the show, and we'll see you on the bus on Friday.
See you on Friday. Thank you again, and God bless, Rich.
He is Sam Campbell, nose guard with the Sioux Falls Storm. When we go to break, we'll take your third caller at 336-1230 for 4 free tickets courtesy of Wingstop, and you're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show right here on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN.
Hey there. Let's take a moment and
what happened, but you're having to deal with the people it happened to.
We want to capture the effect. Why is it so important? Why is this happening?
Everything has an effect, and everything has an impact. It's more than just providing headlines. It's the idea of this has happened and this is why you should care.
It's the driver of how we do news, because we want people to know that we care.
your body. A remarkable network of bone, tissue, and joints working in perfect harmony. But when injuries occur, that process can be interrupted. At Orthopedic Institute, orthopedic medicine is all we do. We work to get you up and moving again, recreating that perfect harmony, whatever that may be for you. Orthopedic Institute, we're the one to trust to keep your body in motion.
People that I work with are family. We get more time with the patients to deliver that personalized care.
I know that our patients are satisfied and happy with their outcomes.
And I've had more than one patient say to me, you know, I can really feel that you guys like being here and taking care of patients. And that's wonderful to hear, because that's the truth.
We give the best care in the world.
And just a better overall experience for the patient.
And that's why I chose to come work here at Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital.
easier when you have your ducts cleaned by Waterbury. Call us today.
Eastway Bowl is more than just bowling. It's a full experience entertainment center. Like us on Facebook and visit our website to learn more about the full experience at Eastway Bowl.
What's the smart way to refresh your home? Get inspired by Granite Transformations. See how easy it is to transform your kitchen or bathroom with gorgeous quartz and granite backed by our lifetime warranty. Plus custom cabinet refacing, all without the mess of a traditional renovation. Explore the exciting possibilities at the New Look, New Style celebration happening now at Granite Transformations. Schedule your free in-home design consultation today.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Back to your host, Rich Roste.
And welcome back to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. Each week, our game preview interview with Storm head coach Kurtiss Riggs is brought to you by our good friends over at Good Sense Deli, fresh subs. Best bread in town. Just see Tim. He'll take good care of you over there. Joining us via the fan line, he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. Coach, first parlay down to Grand Island, Nebraska this year to take on the Danger. They're 5-3. Looking at their roster, there's a lot of names I don't recognize from last year.
Yeah, they have a lot of new players, but the thing you notice is I started putting the scouting report together and watching film of their team. Tremendously athletic. You look at their defense this last week. They've got, a starting safety from University of Florida, a corner from University of Ohio State. I mean, it just goes on and on with guys like this. Rutgers, a DN from Louisiana Lafayette that was with an NFL team for a while. They have a nose guard that was an All-American wrestler at Penn State. I mean, they have quite the resume of guys. It's just trying to get them to all play together.
And that is one of the keys of when the teams are making so many changes and adjustments. It has to be very difficult for a coach to get any continuity on his ball club, and because it takes a while to build that, and when you don't have guys going back and forth, it really disrupts that pattern. Tell us about the process that you go through when you have that situation.
Well, it does, and you get guys that are used to playing extremely fast, and it's a little different in the indoor game. It's still fast, but there has to be a sense of being under control too. And I think the thing you'll see, though, I'm sure they'll have their safety James Eckel back. He played one game, then had to leave the team for personal reasons. I would expect he'll be back, paired with Jamie Bender at the other safety. Then you have two veteran safeties that are very good and not surprised by many things and can get them lined up the way they're supposed to be. And that's pretty scary for us to have to face that.
Talking to Storm head coach Kurtiss Riggs on the Kurtiss Riggs Show about the game coming up this Saturday against the Nebraska Danger. And that game, pregame show starts at 6:45. The kickoff at 7:05, and you can hear it right here on AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. You can't talk about Nebraska without talking about their quarterback, Jamil Sewell. He was up in Canada for a tryout, back now with the Danger. Tell us about, we've talked about him before, just what a force he is on the field. Is being that type of a quarterback ever a detriment when you depend upon your body to get you the extra yard and you kind of put a little bit too much pressure on it? Tell us about that.
Well, I mean, you leave yourself susceptible to injury, but I think he can sustain quite a bit more than the average quarterback, too. There's no way we could put Lorenzo through the grueling grind of what they're able to do at Sewell. It doesn't even do justice as you watch him on film. Not until you stand next to him do you really realize how big of an individual he is, and then when you watch him run, how fast he is and how strong. He's one of the most physically dominating players that have probably played indoor football.
6'3", 220 pounds. I believe that is an estimate as far as his.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, when you're out on the field, he seems about 6'5" and about 250. You just, you feel sorry for your DBs having to go up and make a solo tackle, but they have to. They have to do it.
Well, you talk about their receiving core, and one of the guys that puts up some pretty good numbers is Lyle McCombs. He's also a running back, and he's had 7 rushing touchdowns. He has a receiving touchdown. Marquell Wade, he has a couple of touchdowns. But Thomas Mayo, he has a couple. O.J. Simpson is with them. Now he has 9 receiving touchdowns. Tell us about O.J. Simpson.
Well, he's just the crappy veteran that that Sewell relies on going to. I think their catalyst of their offense is McCombs. I mean, he's very explosive between kick returns, and they use him in their screen game. They use him out of the backfield, and then they run the ball with him. And anytime he touches the ball, he's an instant threat to go all the way and do it the hard way, too, by making a lot of people miss.
Their defense has put up 14 sacks. Their offensive line has only given up 5. They have 8 interceptions, but between the Anderson and and Sewell, they have 11 interceptions between them. Also, they have 4 blocks and 4 safeties. Tell us about their defense as far as the struggles that the Storm may have against them.
Well, their D-line is very big and strong. Eno at nose guard, he's 6'6", 330 pounds, and very explosive. And he really tries to time the cadence. And then they rotate in, the little wrestler. And by little wrestler, I mean, he's probably 6'2" and about 295 pounds.
Oh, my.
And then you have their DNs of Bernard Smith and Justin, the kid out of UCLA that played for him last year, last couple years. Yeah, Edison, and who's very talented. It's Nebraska's Nebraska they're going to bring that wow factor like they always do. I mean, when you see, they definitely pass the eyeball test of when you see their guys take the field. It's just, which team are you going to get? Are you going to get the team that went up and lost to Green Bay? Or are you going to get, the team that is capable when Jamal Sewell's going, that can beat anyone in the league?
So how does the Storm play him?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think you have to stay the course. Like Cedar Rapids did a great job. They never panicked. They got down. They stayed in it. They waited for Nebraska to make mistakes, and then they capitalized on those mistakes. And I think that's something we've been very good at in years past against Nebraska, and it's something that we're definitely going to have to do when we go down to their place.
Well, Coach, what time does the bus leave on Friday?
We're going to leave at 2:37, Rich.
Oh, my.
2:37, so hopefully you can remember that.
I've already written it down. Already written it down because I have a tendency to forget. Well, Coach, thank you for the show today, and we'll see you on the bus. Best of luck on the game on Saturday.
All right, thanks, Rich.
He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. We'll be back with our final segment of the Kurtiss Riggs Show after we pause for this timeout. You're listening to the Coach's Show, Kurtiss Riggs Show, right here on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN.
At Midwest Family Care, we know your health.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Back to your host, Rich Roste.
Oh, thank you for being a part of the Kurtiss Riggs Show today and having us be with you this afternoon, whether it's at home, in the car, at the office, wherever it is. We really appreciate you tuning in to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. I want to thank our guests for being on the show today. Sam Campbell and Claude Davis, defensive linemen with the Sioux Falls Storm. Really appreciated their time. Also, the head coach, Kurtiss Riggs, very accommodating always as far as talking about the show. And we weren't able to have the highlights tonight, but we were able to talk about the game. And that's one of the things, during the course of a game, there are going to be opportunities. There are going to be times that you capitalize. There are going to be game-changing plays. There's going to be adjustments made by the coaching staff. All of those factors go into a victory during the course of a ball game, and it's great to have Coach Riggs, kind of go through and explain all of those different facets to us. Sioux Falls Storm, we're going to be heading down to Grand Island, Nebraska this weekend, and you can hear the game right here on our right here on 1230 AM and 98.1 FM KWSN. Our pregame show starts at 6:45. The kickoff at 7:05. I want to thank all of our sponsors for making us possible that we were on the air today. I want to thank John Michaels, our KWSN studio producer and engineer. And again, thank you for tuning in to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. And you've been listening to it right here on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Good night, everybody.